Welcome to A Dose of Feel Good. I'm your host, Whitney Bischoff, and today we are talking about letting people love you. You can see full show notes at doseoffeelgood.my.canva.site. Now let's dive into today's episode. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Dose of Feel Good podcast. We are at episode 38, and our topic this week is let people love you. Before we jump in, though, I always say that, it's hard in the world out here, but just when I say that, something else happens, and I really do think that it's important to acknowledge that there's a lot of people out in the world that are hurting, that are frustrated, that are just seriously trying to figure out, what kind of world we live in. And I do think it's really important when we're talking about a podcast about mindset and trying to find the good in a world that feels really, really hard, that we do acknowledge that space that we're in. And I just want to give encouragement to folks to continue to find the good and to realize that there is good in the human beings that are around us, especially when it feels really hard in the world. So find those glimmer and sparks of joy around us and find those good moments and choose to spread kindness and love and joy, because that's ultimately what we have control over, especially in a time that feels really, really hard. So I wanted to start the episode today really just acknowledging that. And it blends beautifully into our topic today, which is letting people love you. And I think it's a time where we could all use a little bit more love in our lives and the universe. So let's dive into what that looks like. I'm currently reading a book called All About Love. Highly, highly recommend. I just started it, but there's some really great nuggets, which kind of led me into the topic today. But this book starts off with just this concept that, we're not talking about love in the romantic sense. So I want to kind of turn that piece of our brain off, if you will. But really thinking of this sense that we all crave love, to be loved, but often have this misunderstanding of what that actually looks like for a variety of reasons. I had this kind of like punch to my gut that we grow up in this space of knowing what it looks like to be cared for, and we have this equivalent piece of knowing or feeling like being cared for is what love looks like. And kind of pulling back from that, just because someone cares for us doesn't necessarily mean that that's what love is. And so it starts with us having or needing this understanding for a definition of what love is. And I'm somebody that I really genuinely believe that we need to be telling people that we love them often, all of the time, before it's too late. As somebody who has lost a lot of people in my life, I always say that, I don't want to be that person that waits and that they never know what that looks like. And so I'm tell everyone that you love them. I joke with people all the time. I probably say it too much. I don't actually think that that's a real thing, but I do think people, because we crave that love, we need to be telling people that we love them. And while, yes, it's this big thing, and we don't want to use it too much, we should do more of it. But it starts with understanding what the definition of love is. We don't just want to throw it around. We should be practicing what this is. And so I think knowing that it's not, this fluffy piece, it's not weak or soft or any of those things. It's this universal language, if you will, whether it's for men, women, all people. But I feel like in kind of as I turn the tables a little bit, like it's this soul connection with people. And it's this act of having these soul connections. And that's where it moves beyond that romantic piece. I think oftentimes we lean in that direction with folks, but I know there are so many people, and this is where I'm like, I love so many people because it's just being able to be my authentic self with somebody else and vice versa. And it's the act of showing up for folks. It's the act of, recognizing the amazing things that they're doing, or, just even feeling safe and vulnerable with someone. Those are all loving things, and we should be doing more of that. It's how we connect with each other, and it starts with knowing that that's what love actually looks like in practice. And I think knowing that, it's easy then to love others. We do it often, we do it a lot. I think it's a lot harder when we're talking about the topic today of letting people love you. It's harder to accept that love for ourselves, or when people are giving it to us, right? We rationalize all of the reasons that maybe someone shouldn't love us because, we're hard on ourselves. We know maybe the real version of ourselves that sometimes we might not let everybody else see. And so, deep down, we're like, this unmasked reality maybe isn't good enough to be loved. And so, we maybe start playing this tape in our mind, if you will, of if they only knew X about me, or if they only knew the real me, they wouldn't really say or love me in the way that they say they do. And I think the reality is that everybody has that junk that they're carrying with them. No one's perfect. No one is in that space. We all have our junk that we carry. And I think part of this real soul connection love that we're talking about is that it's unconditional. It's this acknowledgement that we do all have our stuff that we're carrying with us. But that acknowledgement that we do have those flaws, that we don't have to have it all figured out or perfect or whatever that looks like, that acceptance that we're going to figure it out together and I'm going to love you anyways, that's the type of love and sharing and acceptance that we're talking about and looking at here. And I know that sounds like some big mystical thing, or I think people sometimes hear the word love and they're like, oh, I don't know. There's just, I feel like sometimes negative connotations with it of I even think of Valentine's Day coming up. My husband and I, we are big naysayers because I'm like, we should be practicing love every day of the year. Right. So there's just this connotation sometimes that it's just this fluffy thing. But I think it's just this piece that we crave from an acceptance and connection level. And that's really what we're talking about here. And to highlight this in a couple of different ways today, I've been doing this compliment kind of activity with folks, and it's a variety of ways. But one of the things that I ask folks to do is to give compliments. It starts with a physical compliment to somebody else, and then ask them to kind of find a new partner and give them a compliment based on, whether it's something that they can't see. So personality trait, leadership trait, something that is a little bit maybe more personable. And then the third is have them give a compliment about themselves out loud. And I always kind of ask folks, how does that make you feel? And the first thing that we always hear a lot of is, rather than just accepting the compliment that was given to me, especially about the things that can't be seen, that are more personable, I start to say out loud, like, oh, but these are all the reasons why that you shouldn't be saying that about me. And I think that's what we're talking about here, is rather than just letting someone love us as the way they see us, we rationalize all of these reasons why they shouldn't. I think it's similar, or when I really started to accept of what it means to let someone else love me. When my mom passed away, I was young. I was 19. I didn't have a clue of what it meant to live in an adult world, let alone like navigating everything that kind of goes along when someone passes away. There's just so much that you have to navigate. Anyways, I had so many people that were reaching out, offering help, and I was like, I got it. And it really got to a point where I just started understanding that when people reach out and offer help, they genuinely want to help, right? It's not that I was a burden, or what I was going through was a burden to them, but they genuinely wanted to help. And so that was kind of that aha moment where, letting people love you or letting people help is because they want to do that. They don't just do that for fun. I think the hard part here, I think what sometimes we have to navigate through, is we've maybe loved, and this is not just from the romantic sense at all. I think this is any sort of connection where we've let those masks down, or, we've shown our authentic self. And like I said, we all carry those baggage, that flaws, that like, oh, if they only knew this, they wouldn't really love me. And we've all kind of let someone into that space, and they've proven us right. They've showed us that they weren't going to actually love us in that space. And so it takes a lot to rebuild that trust with folks. And so I have to constantly remind myself that I have to focus on the right people, the real ones that are going to show up, even in my mess that I have. And that reminder that, again, we're all flawed. The people who are loving me are flawed. I'm flawed. But being able to feel safe and comfortable and show up anyways, and that we're going to figure it out together. Those are the people that I'm going to let people love me in those spaces, because the reality is that we all carry a lot, and we wear these masks, and it wears on us every single day. And eventually that mask is going to slip, and it's not a comfortable feeling. And we don't want to get to a place where it slips and it's in the wrong space with the wrong people. And we want to be able to take that mask off in a space that is comfortable for us, rather than being forced to do it in a space where we're not ready to. And so when we choose to open up in safe spaces, we can unload some of that weight so it doesn't get so heavy. And when we're letting those people love us, it's in those spaces where we don't have to carry so much, where we don't have to mask it all the time. But it starts with how we see ourselves, and realizing that we deserve that same love that we put into the world. Because oftentimes we're focusing on giving so much to everybody else that we don't take a step back to find and recognize when people are giving us that same love, that this is a safe space where I can kind of breathe a little bit and unload some of that before it gets to a space where it's too much, and I'm letting it all come out in a space that's, too far, and we don't want to get to that space. And so recognizing when we think of, again, like that compliment activity, rather than rationalizing when someone's giving us that love, take it and kind of unload some of that weight that we're carrying. And really, at a really basic level, recognizing that, love is a basic, universal human soul need. We all have this need. Again, it's not this fluffy thing. I'm going to say that one more time. We need to recognize that love is a basic, universal human soul need. And it grounds our authentic connections and the kindness that we all need a little bit more of. And I opened the episode knowing that we all feel this heaviness in the world. And if we choose to focus on letting people love us in these spaces, I think it will make things a little bit easier, or at least, we can connect a little bit more and find those moments of joy in the spaces that we're in right now. So how do we actually put this into action for the week? So I'm going to keep it simple this week. So I want us to start with reframing what our definition of love is in everyday language and really focusing on that soul connection. Who are those people that I feel like I have that connection with that, really inspire me and I feel safe with? And I know that if I show them who I really am at my core, they're going to continue to show up. But it's recognizing that definition of love and what I need as that basic human soul need, and reframing that definition for ourselves. The second piece is really knowing and understanding and giving ourselves our own self-love. So recognizing that unmasked version as enough, even with all of the baggage and the junk that we carry with us, the flaws, that we still love ourselves in those spaces, because we deserve that love and to love ourselves just as we are, knowing that everyone carries those flaws as well, and that ours aren't any different, and still giving ourselves that grace and that forgiveness that we can still move forward, and other people can love us in those spaces as well. And in the last piece, when we're really talking about letting others love us, is to share and accept love. And we're talking about this soul love, if you will, from the world, and practicing and reframing when we start to rationalize maybe why someone shouldn't love us, or they, are commenting on a specific thing they love about us. When we start to spiral into this space of, well, these are all the reasons why you shouldn't, pause and don't let ourselves go there. Instead, saying thank you, and connect in those moments rather than rationalizing reasons why someone shouldn't love us. So as you go out into the world this week, I really want you to take a second, find those moments of love and sparks of joy, and when in doubt, take a breath, and ground yourself, give yourself that grace, and know that there are so many connections and so many people out there in the world that do authentically love you just the way you are, and we'll all get through it together. I promise you that. So we will have a toolkit out on Tuesday, so be on the lookout for that. I have some merch that came in this week. It's super cozy, so if you want to spread some feel-good energy out there as we go into the hard universe that we're living in, feel free to check that out. I will also be opening an Etsy shop here in the next week or so with some stickers for sale that I think are going to be really, really fabulous. So keep an eye out for that as well. As always, feel free to send me a DM with any topics that you're interested in learning more about. Otherwise, let's continue to spread some feel-good energy out into the universe. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you are feeling ready to conquer the week and let your impact ripple out to the world around you. Let's connect on Instagram and Threads at Dose of Feel Good Podcast. If you're loving the podcast, I'd love it if you'd hit that subscribe button and leave a review. Until next time, share your own dose of feel good and never underestimate the power of positivity.